Hey everyone, how's it going? And yep, we have reached the third installment of the Meinhardt and Knox series. And this is also probably going to be the shortest of the reviews since, this is a pretty short book. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with the Meinhardt and Knox series, here's a brief synopsis. The series was created by Mike Mignola and Warwick Johnson Cadwell. The first book in the series, Mr. Higgins Comes Home, followed the adventures of two vampire hunters, Professor Meinhardt and his assistant Knox, as they have the assistance of a werewolf by the name of Mr. Higgins to infiltrate a vampire party and take out the host. It was a great start to the series, and a decent introduction to Meinhardt and Knox, though they wouldn't really shine until the sequel book, Our Encounter with Evil, an anthology story where we see the two encounter several different vampire attacks. They varied from the disturbing to the hilarious to the both disturbing and hilarious, and it was pretty fun. If you want more detail on it, I'll leave a link to the description down below of a little playlist since I already covered the first two books in the past Halloween lines. But anyway, let's get started with Falconspeare. Warning, spoilers. Our story begins 15 years ago, as we see Meinhardt, Knox, Mary from the second book, and our titular title character, James Falconspeare, taking out a vampire. Well, Knox, Mary, and Falconspeare taking out the vampire, which is going to be one of the few jokes that you'll see in this book. But I'll get more into that in a bit. Fast forward to the present, Meinhardt, Knox, and Mary have gotten messages of sorts from Falconspeare, who they haven't seen in a long time, 10 years to be exact. Given that the messages were kind of odd, since they actually had to decipher them, they deduce that there's something wrong and that they must go help him. As they head out, they try to deduce what exactly could be going on with him, concluding with the belief that it has something to do with his last case, since he didn't really report afterwards, or either he has been captured or is in hiding. They eventually come across a man named Dalton, who is actually happy to lead them to Falconspeare, and as they finally encounter their friend, Falconspeare tells him to stand back and listen to his tale. What is this tale? Why has he not contacted them until now? And will the trio be able to handle the truth? Well, you're gonna have to read it to find out. This book, compared to the first two, is probably the most serious. As I mentioned before, there aren't that many jokes compared to the first two. And when they are, I gotta be honest here, it's kind of more of a chuckle. Cadwell, once again, is the sole writer of this book, and I really do feel like he wanted to make this into a much more darker story than the previous two, without losing its essence. It still feels like a Meinhardt and Knox story. I will say the twist of Falconspeare is a little obvious, but once it's revealed what happened exactly, I started thinking about it as how the Arctic Nation handled its story, where the big twist isn't what happened to this character, it's why it happened to this character, which, without spoiling, is pretty thought-provoking, and is a welcome addition to the series. Now let's get into characters, starting with, of course, James Falconspeare. When you first meet him, James is the definition of a shining knight. He's noble, soft-spoken, always seemed to know what to do, and always quick to action, or at least that's how his friends remember him, since until we're halfway through the book, we don't actually get to see him in present day in person. What we get to know of Falconspeare is mostly in the opening and how the characters talk about him, which makes his appearance in the end very interesting, as at first you do think that he's that type of guy, but we also get the sense that he did see things in black and white, and that this type of life would be easy, but once he encounters the monster that made him go AWOL for all this time, it really is tragic. He kind of comes off as an Anne Rice character, and I'm saying this in the positive way, where he's a character that you both admire but also feel sorry for. As for the others, not much to say about Meinhardt and Knox, even less to say about Mary, but I will say it was really interesting to see them more concerned. In the last two books, yeah, though they had their moments, they mostly kept their cool and were civil for most of it, but in here, they were genuinely concerned for Falconspeare. We got to see a side of them that we don't often see, especially with Meinhardt, since this isn't just some random victim or an associate of his, this is his friend. Sure, a friend that he hasn't seen in a long time, but from the way he talks about him, he does truly care about him still. It was nice to see more layers to his character. Cadwell still did the art, and what I've said in the past still stands here. I will say the book's more serious nature does kind of clash a little bit with the art style. Not too much, but enough that it's noticeable. Falconspeare might be a quick read, but still a welcome addition to the Meinhardt and Knox series. I will say that I can't recommend this to someone who hasn't already read the previous books, but if you have, I definitely recommend checking this out. At the time of this recording, there has been no word if Cadwell is continuing the series, but if this has to be the last book, not a bad way to end it. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and we close off this Halloween season with, of course, Batman: The Long Halloween. Later.